Breaking news, Cowboys Nation, and this is one of those moments that genuinely shakes the entire NFL landscape because the Dallas Cowboys have officially named Robert Saleh as their new head coach. And no matter how you feel about this move, there is absolutely no denying that this is a massive franchise-altering decision that could redefine the identity of America's team for years to come. So buckle up, because there is a lot to unpack here, from why Jerry Jones made this call to what it means for the roster, the locker room, the defense, the culture, and yes, even the future of Dak Prescott and the Cowboys Super Bowl window. Because when you hire a coach like Robert Saleh, you are not just changing playbooks. You are changing attitude, accountability, and expectations across the entire organization. And let's start with the immediate reaction, because Cowboys fans are split right down the middle, with one side absolutely fired up about the idea of a tough, defensive-minded leader finally bringing discipline and physicality back to Dallas, while the other side is understandably cautious after years of coaching changes, false dawns, and playoff heartbreak. But what makes this hire so fascinating is that Robert Saleh represents something the Cowboys haven't fully embraced in a very long time. And that is a head coach whose entire football philosophy is built around aggression, intensity, and relentless effort rather than branding, headlines, or offensive flash. Because if you followed Saleh's coaching journey, you know this is a guy who lives and breathes defense, energy, and culture building. And that alone makes this move feel different from past hires, especially when you consider how often the Cowboys have been criticized for lacking toughness in big moments. And this is where Jerry Jones's decision becomes especially interesting, because for decades, the Cowboys have been associated with star power, offensive fireworks, and marketability, but this hire feels like a direct response to the narrative that Dallas is talented but soft, flashy but inconsistent, exciting in the regular season but unreliable when the stakes are highest, and Saleh's arrival sends a clear message that those days may be over, because he is not a coach who tolerates lapses in effort or mental mistakes. And if you're a player on this roster, whether you're a star or a depth piece, you're about to be held to a different standard, and that alone could have ripple effects throughout the locker room, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where Saleh's fingerprints are expected to be everywhere. Because let's be honest, this Cowboys defense has talent, but under Saleh, the expectation will be domination, not just flashes of brilliance. And imagine what this could mean for players like Micah Parsons, who already plays with fire and intensity, because under a coach like Saleh, someone like Parsons could reach an entirely new level, not just as a pass rusher, but as the emotional heartbeat of the team. And that's where Saleh's strength really shines, because he doesn't just scheme, he motivates, he connects, and he creates buy-in, and that's something the Cowboys have desperately needed, because talent alone has never been the issue in Dallas. Execution and consistency have been. And Saleh's background suggests that he thrives in environments where discipline and effort are non-negotiable. And this is where the conversation naturally shifts to the offense and the big question everyone is asking right now, which is how Robert Saleh will work with Dak Prescott and the Cowboys' offensive identity. Because while Saleh is known as a defensive coach, he's also shown a willingness to adapt and delegate, and that could be huge for Dallas, because it suggests that Saleh isn't coming in to micromanage the offense, but rather to build a complete team where all three phases complement each other. And that means we could see a Cowboys team that prioritizes ball control, situational football, and protecting leads, instead of constantly relying on high-risk offensive shootouts. And that philosophy could be exactly what Dallas needs to finally break through in the postseason, because year after year, we've seen the Cowboys put up numbers only to collapse under pressure, and Saleh's emphasis on fundamentals and preparation could be the missing piece. And let's not ignore the psychological impact of this hire either, because the moment this news broke, the rest of the league took notice. And opponents will look at Dallas differently, knowing that they're now facing a team coached by someone who thrives on confrontation, intensity, and physical football. And that matters, especially in the NFC, where playoff games often come down to grit rather than glamour. And then there's Jerry Jones himself, because this hire says a lot about where his mindset is right now. And it suggests that even at this stage, he is still hungry to win another Super Bowl, not just to remain relevant. And choosing Robert Saleh over a safer or more familiar option signals a willingness to embrace change and possibly even step back a little to allow a strong personality to lead the locker room. And that could be one of the most underrated aspects of this entire move, because for Saleh to succeed in Dallas, he needs autonomy, and the fact that this hire happened suggests that the front office is ready to give him that. And now let's talk about the fans, because Cowboys fans are passionate, demanding, and often unforgiving, but they are also starving for authenticity. And Saleh brings that in spades, because he is not a coach who hides behind cliches or corporate language. He is raw, emotional, and honest. And that authenticity could resonate deeply with a fan base that has grown tired of excuses and moral victories. And over time, if the Cowboys start playing harder, smarter, and more disciplined football, even skeptics may come around, because at the end of the day, Dallas fans don't just want wins, they want pride. They want to feel like their team fights for every yard. And Saleh's teams are known for exactly that. And when you zoom out and look at the broader NFL picture, this hire could have long-term implications beyond just the Cowboys. Because if Saleh succeeds in Dallas, it could spark a trend where teams once again prioritize culture and toughness over pure offensive innovation. And that would be a fascinating shift in a league that has increasingly favored high-scoring, pass-heavy offenses. And make no mistake, this is not a short-term experiment, because when you hire a coach like Saleh, you are committing to a vision that may take time to fully materialize, and that means patience will be required. But if there is one thing Saleh has shown throughout his career, it's that his teams tend to improve as they fully buy into his system, and that's why this hire feels like a long-term investment rather than a quick fix. And now the real work begins, because the offseason will be crucial in shaping what this new era of Cowboys football looks like, from staff hires to roster decisions to how veterans and young players alike respond to the new leadership. And every move will be scrutinized, every quote dissected, and every preseason performance analyzed. But one thing is clear right now, and that is that the Dallas Cowboys have officially entered a new chapter, one defined by intensity, accountability, and a renewed focus on winning football the hard way. And whether this move ultimately leads to playoff glory or not, it has already injected fresh energy and excitement into the franchise. And that alone is something fans can rally around, because for the first time in a long time, it feels like the Cowboys are not just chasing headlines, but chasing identity. And that could make all the difference. So Cowboys Nation, the question now isn't whether Robert Saleh is the right hire. The question is whether the organization is fully ready to embrace the changes that come with him. Because if they are, the rest of the NFL should be on notice, because a disciplined, aggressive, and emotionally unified Dallas Cowboys team is a scary thought for anyone standing in their way. And this breaking news could very well be remembered as the moment everything changed in Dallas, for better or worse. And that's what makes it so compelling, so controversial, and so incredibly exciting to watch unfold.